Now, in the next hour or so, we'll get an idea of how ongoing travel restrictions are affecting the world's biggest travel company. TUI owns 1,600 travel agents, 5 airlines, 400 hotels and 17 cruise liners. It's about to report results for the 3 months to June, normally the start of its peak holiday season. But the pandemic has seen it cut thousands of jobs and seek a multi-billion-dollar bailout from the German government. Well, let's get more on this and talk to Martin Alcock, Director of the Travel Trade Consultancy. Martin, welcome to you. Thanks very much for being with us. So,
Morning.
What do you think we can expect from the results?
Yeah, well, look, morning. As you say, this announcement covers the trading results for the period up to the end of June. And because the way TUI recognises its profits and its revenue, it only recognises that when people actually depart on a holiday. And so for that reason, it's going to be a pretty poor set of results again. Better than the 2020 equivalent, because we were in full lockdown back then and there wasn't anything really happening, but still way down on pre-pandemic levels. If you look at what some of the airlines have reported recently, EasyJet and Ryanair, for example, in that same quarter reported only around 10 to 20% of passenger volumes relative to June 2019, the equivalent pre-pandemic quarter. So I think TUI could be looking at a similar ballpark in terms of their actual results. What's much more interesting, though, is I think the data they report on the very latest booking trends and what the forward piece looks like. That will give us that real sense of how consumers across Europe actually have reacted to restrictions being relaxed over the last few months.
And what do you think we will see from that, given that restrictions in many countries only relaxed really in the past few weeks?
Yeah, well, look, what we're seeing across our travel company clients is what you'd call a two-speed recovery, really. Across Europe, we're seeing huge numbers of bookings coming in already. Some of those airlines we just mentioned are talking about their European bookings for future travel being almost back to 2019 levels, ever since the EU launched its digital passport scheme back at the start of July. I think it's a similar story in the US as well, actually. Starting to see US consumers, less relevant for TUI, but you're starting to see US consumers travelling. The UK recovery, sadly, is just way behind that. It's much slower. Frankly, that's a result of the pretty chaotic approach the government's taken to opening up international travel. This sort of flawed traffic light system, I think, is really having a detrimental effect on consumer confidence to book, just given the continual changes. Mexico was a very recent example of that, where it moved to the red list. So I expect TUI's results to mirror that. Bookings in, say, its German business, which is a very big component of that, I expect to be roaring and like I say, almost back to pre-pandemic levels. UK probably still a bit sleepy and behind the curve.
Just briefly, Martin, what is it now that you think the travel industry wants to see from governments to help it going forward?
Well, it's going to be a really long road to recovery. All of these businesses have taken on huge amounts of debt to fund themselves through the crisis, and that's going to have to be repaid or restructured in some ways. So I think the best we can hope for, getting people travelling again is the short-term priority for these companies, because confidence is so fragile, as I mentioned. I think the best we can hope for is some stability from the government in this traffic light system. They have said that they won't be changing the ratings for another couple of weeks. So there is just about a bit of time for people to grab that sort of last minute holiday for this summer, although realistically, this summer is gone and it is more about the next season. So I think a bit of stability is about the best we can hope for. Martin
Alcock, great to talk to you. Thanks very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
We'll of course bring you those TUI results when they come into us. That's it for me. You can reach me on Twitter. I'm at Samantha TV News. Have a great rest of your day.